In today's episode, we're diving into the dumbest animal attacks ever recorded. From a dawn swim in Hawaii, where murky water hid a circling threat, to a Colorado trail run where one runner made every mistake in the book. But first, we head to Montana, where getting the perfect selfie with a grizzly cub seemed worth the risk, until it wasn't. It was August 14th, 2016, in the Gallatin Range near the Yellowstone boundary in Montana, where the rugged wilderness stretched across steep meadows and dense willow thickets. The air was warm and still, carrying the scent of wildflowers and something heavier, the unmistakable odor of decay from a partially buried elk carcass hidden in a shallow draw. Noah Briggs, a 29-year-old graphic designer from Bozeman, had driven out with two close friends for a weekend hike to a scenic overlook popular among locals. Jake Morales, an impulsive IT support specialist, had been cracking jokes all morning and pointing out wildlife through binoculars. Priya Desai, a practical ER nurse, had read the bear safety pamphlet aloud at the trailhead, emphasizing the importance of staying at least 100 yards from bears and carrying bear spray. None of them had brought any. The trio left the marked trail and ventured toward the edge of a meadow where Jake had spotted a grizzly cub moving through the brush about 70 meters away. Noah, eager to capture a close-up photo for their friend group's ongoing wildlife challenge, edged closer through waist-high willows while Jake filmed from behind. Fresh bear scat dotted the ground, and trampled vegetation suggested recent activity. The wind shifted, carrying their scent directly down into the draw where the carcass lay concealed. Warning signs at the trailhead had been clear about recent bear activity in the area, but the group had dismissed them in their excitement. The meadow sloped gently toward dense brush, and visibility dropped sharply where willows grew thick. Noah moved slowly, pausing to frame his shot, unaware he was positioning himself directly between the cub and its mother. Grizzly bears are among North America's most powerful predators, with adult females weighing between 300 and 450 pounds and possessing immense strength capable of overturning boulders and tearing through logs. Sows with cubs are especially defensive, perceiving any close approach as a direct threat to their offspring. They rely on surprise and overwhelming force to neutralize danger, often launching explosive charges that cover ground at speeds exceeding 30 miles per hour. Their jaws can exert over 1,000 pounds of pressure per square inch, easily crushing bone. Grizzlies also have a highly developed sense of smell and fiercely guard food sources. The combination of a cub, a carcass, and an approaching human created the most dangerous scenario possible in bear country. When Noah stepped within roughly 10 meters of the cub, brush snapped sharply underfoot. The adult sow rose from cover inside the draw, her massive frame suddenly visible. At a distance of about 20 meters, she launched a bluff charge, huffing and popping her jaws. Noah backed up only a few steps, keeping his phone raised and his body facing the bear. The sow committed to a full charge, closing the gap in seconds. Her first strike came as a powerful forepaw swipe that knocked Noah off his feet and sent him sprawling onto uneven ground. Before he could react, the bear was on top of him, delivering rapid bites to his upper torso and shoulder. The entire attack lasted less than 20 seconds, a violent, chaotic blur consistent with a defensive sow reacting to a perceived threat to her cub. Such encounters are not prolonged hunts, but explosive bursts of force intended to neutralize danger as quickly as possible. Her claws raked across his chest, tearing through fabric and flesh with devastating efficiency. Deep lacerations opened across his ribcage, exposing muscle and bone. She pinned him briefly with her weight, then broke contact and circled. As Noah struggled to rise to his hands and knees, the sow charged again. This time her jaws clamped onto his neck, crushing vertebrae and severing major blood vessels. A second bite targeted his chest, puncturing the thoracic cavity and causing massive internal hemorrhaging. Her teeth penetrated deep, collapsing a lung. The attack lasted less than a minute. The sow disengaged abruptly, collected her cub, and disappeared into the dense cover. Noah lay motionless on the trampled grass, blood pooling rapidly beneath him. His friends, frozen in shock several meters away, finally rushed forward and attempted to apply pressure to the wounds, but the damage was catastrophic. Arterial bleeding could not be controlled, loss of consciousness came within minutes, and Noah was unresponsive by the time they reached cell service and called for help. Park rangers and wildlife officials arrived by helicopter within the hour, but Noah was pronounced dead at the scene. An investigation by Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks confirmed that the attack was defensive in nature, triggered by the close proximity to the cub and the nearby carcass. Rangers noted the absence of bear spray among the hikers as a major preventable factor. The substance has proven effective even during surprise encounters when deployed quickly. The sow was not pursued or destroyed, as her behavior was consistent with natural maternal defense. Biologists noted that the presence of the elk carcass had likely kept the bear family in the immediate area, heightening the sow's protective instincts. Noah's family released a brief statement expressing their grief and urging others to respect wildlife distances and carry bear spray in grizzly country. His parents described him as adventurous and kind, someone who loved the outdoors but had underestimated the risks that day. The incident drew widespread attention on social media, with outdoor safety advocates using it as a cautionary example of the dangers posed by ignoring posted guidelines and approaching wild animals for photographs. Local hiking groups organized memorial hikes in Noah's honor and distributed bear safety information at trailheads throughout the region. While Noah Briggs died in Montana, another tragedy was unfolding 4,000 miles away in Hawaii, where Camille Porter would soon wade into murky dawn waters, unaware that a massive tiger shark was circling nearby. It was May 19, 2018, off Makaha Beach on the western shore of Oahu, Hawaii, where the Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly under a pale dawn sky. The water was murky from an overnight swell that had churned sand and sediment into suspension, reducing visibility to less than a meter. Camille Porter, a 32-year-old marketing consultant from San Diego, had arrived on the island 3 days earlier with her boyfriend Leo Park, a 29-year-old surf instructor who had grown up in the area. Leo had suggested an early morning swim before his first lesson of the day, hoping to share the quiet beauty of the ocean before crowds arrived. Mia Castillo, a 31-year-old lifeguard and mutual friend, had joined them the previous evening and pointed out the shark sighting signs posted near the beach access the afternoon before. A large tiger shark had been reported by fishermen cleaning their catch at the far end of the beach. Mia had warned about the murky conditions and advised staying close to shore, but Camille was eager for a peaceful swim in open water. The trio walked down to the sand just after sunrise, the air warm and humid. Small shorebreak waves rolled in steadily, and tight schools of baitfish flickered near the surface, their silver bodies catching the early light. Camille wore a reflective anklet, a gift from Leo, that glinted as she waded into the water. Leo remained in waist-deep water near the beach, watching the sets roll in, while Camille moved farther out to chest and neck depth, her arms cutting smooth strokes through the cloudy water. Tiger sharks are among the ocean's most formidable predators, reaching lengths of 10 to 14 feet and weighing up to 1,400 pounds. They are opportunistic feeders with powerful jaws capable of crushing sea turtle shells and tearing through thick hides. Their teeth are serrated and designed to saw through flesh and bone with devastating efficiency. Tiger sharks are known for their curiosity and investigative behavior, often approaching potential prey with a bump or nudge before committing to a bite. They are most active during dawn and dusk, periods when light levels are low and prey is harder to identify. Murky water, baitfish activity, and reflective objects can all trigger investigatory strikes. Camille had moved approximately 30 meters from shore when a large shape began circling just beyond her field of vision. The shark approached slowly from deeper water, drawn by the splashing and the glint of metal around her ankle. A sudden bump struck her lower leg, firm and deliberate. Camille turned toward shore and began swimming in with steady strokes, her movements controlled but faster. The shark circled again, closing the distance. Its first bite came without warning, jaws clamping onto her lower calf and ankle. The serrated teeth punctured skin and muscle, grinding against bone. Camille attempted to plant her feet in the sand, but the shark maintained its grip and shook once, tearing tissue. She lost her footing and fell forward into the water. The shark released briefly, then returned on a shallow angle. The second bite targeted her mid-thigh, the jaws closing with immense pressure. Teeth sank deep into the femoral region, severing the femoral artery. Blood began pouring into the water in thick clouds. The shark shook again, its head twisting side to side before releasing and circling. Camille tried to kick toward shore, but her leg was unresponsive, and the water around her darkened rapidly with blood. The shark made a final pass, biting the same leg near the knee, then veered off into deeper water and disappeared. Unlike most tiger shark encounters that end after a single investigatory bite, this shark displayed unusually persistent behavior, likely provoked by the murky water, the flash of jewelry, and the presence of blood. Leo had seen the thrashing and was already moving toward her, calling out. He reached Camille within seconds, wrapping his arms under hers and towing her toward the beach. Her leg trailed limply, the water behind them stained red. Mia sprinted from the sand and helped drag Camille onto the shore, immediately applying pressure to the thigh wound. The damage was catastrophic. The femoral artery had been completely severed, and blood loss was rapid and uncontrollable despite their efforts. Camille's breathing became shallow and erratic. Her skin turned pale, and within minutes, she slipped into shock. Emergency services arrived within 10 minutes, but she was unresponsive. Paramedics attempted resuscitation, but she was pronounced dead shortly after their arrival. An investigation by the Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources confirmed the attack was consistent with tiger shark behavior. The murky water, dawn timing, bait fish presence, and reflective jewelry were all identified as contributing factors. Authorities closed the beach for 48 hours and posted additional warnings along the coastline. Camille's family released a statement expressing their heartbreak and gratitude for the efforts of Leo, Mia, and the emergency responders. They described Camille as adventurous and full of life, someone who loved the ocean and had always felt at home in the water. The incident reignited public discussions about shark safety in Hawaii, with local officials urging swimmers to avoid murky water, dawn and dusk hours, and areas with active fishing or baitfish schools. Memorial services were held in both San Diego and Oahu, and a scholarship fund was established in Camille's name to support ocean conservation education. Camille Porter met her tragic end in the waters off Oahu, and another fatal encounter was unfolding thousands of miles away at a roadside menagerie in Oklahoma, where Wesley Hartman would soon reach through the bars of a chimpanzee enclosure to retrieve a pair of sunglasses, unaware that multiple sets of eyes were watching his every move. It was October 7th, 2017, at a private roadside menagerie near Wynwood, Oklahoma, where a collection of aging enclosures housed exotic animals along a dusty stretch of rural highway. The facility advertised itself as a hands-on wildlife experience, drawing families looking for cheap entertainment during road trips. Wesley Hartman, a 36-year-old insurance adjuster from Tulsa, had stopped with his wife Dana and their 8-year-old son Thomas on their way back from visiting relatives in Texas. The afternoon was warm and bright, with a light crowd scattered among the animal pens. Dana, a 34-year-old retail manager, had read the posted rules aloud as they entered, noting the prominent "do not feed" or touch signs. Thomas, an energetic child, had been darting from exhibit to exhibit, pressing his face against bars. The chimpanzee enclosure sat near the center of the property, a concrete pad surrounded by heavy steel bars with an outer safety rail positioned roughly 1 meter back from the primary barrier. The gap between the rail and the bars was narrow, filled with dirt and debris, and clearly marked as off-limits. A keeper named Rick, a 45-year-old attendant who appeared overworked, had reminded visitors twice to stay behind the outer rail. Inside the enclosure, several adult chimpanzees moved restlessly, their vocalizations growing louder as the crowd pressed closer. Rick mentioned that tensions had been high among the males recently. Thomas had been leaning over the outer rail when his sunglasses slipped from his head and fell into the restricted gap, landing on the concrete lip just beneath the bars. Wesley decided to retrieve them quickly. Chimpanzees are among the strongest primates relative to their size, with adult males possessing upper body strength estimated to be 4 to 6 times greater than that of an average human. They have powerful jaws capable of delivering crushing bites, and their canine teeth can grow up to 2 inches long. Chimpanzees are highly intelligent, but also unpredictable, and can become aggressive without warning, especially in captivity, where stress amplifies territorial behaviors. Their grip strength is immense, and once they latch onto a limb, dislodging them is nearly impossible. Chimpanzees have been documented engaging in coordinated attacks, with multiple individuals working together to overpower threats. Wesley stepped over the outer safety rail and leaned into the gap, extending his right arm toward the sunglasses. His fingers brushed the frame just as a large male chimpanzee lunged forward and seized his wrist through the bars. A second chimp grabbed his sleeve near the elbow. The grip was immediate and unbreakable. Wesley tried to pull back, but the chimps yanked his arm hard against the steel bars. His shoulder slammed into the metal, and he lost his footing. Additional chimps joined, their hands and teeth targeting the exposed forearm. The first bite came to the back of his hand, teeth sinking through skin and crushing small bones. A second chimp bit into his forearm, tearing away muscle. Blood began streaming down his arm. Wesley shouted and tried to brace his feet, but the animals pulled with coordinated force, wrenching his arm repeatedly against the bars. His fingers were bitten next, with one chimp clamping down and pulling until skin tore and tendons snapped. Another bite targeted his upper arm, the teeth penetrating deep into tissue. The chimps began a tug of war, each pulling in different directions, causing massive soft tissue damage. Dana screamed for help while shielding Thomas. Rick sprinted over with a hose and sprayed the chimps, but they barely reacted. He grabbed a metal panel and banged it loudly against the enclosure. The noise caused a brief hesitation, but the chimps quickly resumed. Wesley's arm was now covered in blood, with multiple deep lacerations visible. Another keeper arrived with a fire extinguisher and discharged it directly at the chimps. The sudden blast finally forced them to retreat. Bystanders rushed forward and pulled Wesley away from the bars. He collapsed onto the ground, his arm mangled and bleeding profusely. The brachial artery in his upper arm had been severed, and blood poured from the wound in rhythmic spurts. Dana and another visitor applied pressure, but the bleeding was uncontrollable. Wesley's face turned ashen, his breathing rapid and shallow. He lost consciousness within 2 minutes. Paramedics arrived within 8 minutes, but despite immediate attempts to stabilize him, Wesley went into cardiac arrest during transport and was pronounced dead en route to the hospital. An investigation by the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation determined that the facility had multiple safety violations, including inadequate barrier distances. The enclosure was ordered closed pending upgrades. Wesley's wife Dana released a statement describing her husband as a devoted father who had made a split-second decision to help his son. She called for stricter regulations on roadside zoos. The incident drew national media attention and sparked renewed debate about private menageries. Far from that Oklahoma enclosure where Wesley Hartman died, another tragedy was unfolding in Florida. Autumn Reeves had just finished a late shift and was walking home when she reached a dark golf course pond that promised a quick shortcut. It was June 23, 2015. Near a golf course retention pond in Kissimmee, Florida, where the humid night air hung thick and still over manicured fairways and artificial water features. The pond sat adjacent to a cart path that wound through the course, its dark surface reflecting nothing but the faint glow of distant streetlights. Autumn Reeves, a 27-year-old server at a nearby restaurant, had just finished a late shift with 2 co-workers and was walking home to save on gas. Mark Delaney, a 31-year-old bartender, had suggested cutting through the golf course to shave 10 minutes off their route. Kayla Nguyen, a 28-year-old server known for her cautious nature, had pointed out the no swimming, alligators present signs posted near the path as they approached the water's edge. The trio had made this walk before, always skirting the pond along the grass. But tonight, the path curved wide around a narrow inlet that extended into their route. It was nearly midnight, and the only sounds were the rhythmic chirping of frogs and the occasional splash near the far bank. Autumn had kicked off her sandals earlier, and as they reached the inlet, she paused. The water looked shallow, maybe knee-deep, and crossing directly would cut the distance significantly. Kayla reminded her about the signs they had passed. Autumn stepped into the water anyway, her bare feet sinking slightly into the soft mud. The surface was calm except for small ripples spreading outward from her movement. She waded forward slowly, the water rising to her knees as she moved toward the center of the 10-meter crossing. American alligators are apex predators found throughout Florida's freshwater systems, including lakes, rivers, swamps, and man-made retention ponds. Adult females typically reach lengths of 8 to 10 feet and can weigh between 200 and 300 pounds. Alligators are ambush hunters, relying on stealth and explosive power to capture prey. They often lie motionless near the bottom or along shorelines, nearly invisible in murky water, waiting for movement or vibrations that signal potential food. Their jaws can exert over 2,000 pounds of pressure per square inch, enough to crush bone and hold struggling prey underwater. Once an alligator secures a grip, it performs a death roll, a violent spinning motion designed to disorient, drown, and dismember victims. June is peak nesting season for alligators in Florida, a time when females become highly territorial and aggressive. Wading into dark water at night during this period is one of the most dangerous activities a person can undertake in alligator territory. An 8-foot female alligator had been resting near the bottom of the inlet, positioned along a shallow shelf near a culvert outflow. The vibrations from Autumn's footsteps triggered an immediate response. The alligator angled toward her silently, its body moving with minimal surface disruption. Autumn had taken 5 or 6 steps when the attack came. The alligator lunged from the side, its jaws clamping onto her lower left leg just above the ankle. The bite was instant and crushing, teeth sinking through skin, muscle, and grinding against bone. Autumn screamed and fell forward into the water, her hands splashing as she tried to regain balance. The alligator pulled steadily backward, dragging her toward deeper water with powerful sweeps of its tail. She tried to kick with her free leg, but the animal's grip was unyielding. The alligator initiated the first death roll, its entire body rotating rapidly in the water. Autumn was pulled under, submerged completely as the roll continued. The grip shifted higher on her leg, now clamping mid-calf. Water filled her mouth and nose. The alligator surfaced briefly, then performed a second roll, this time dragging her toward the deeper center of the pond. Her arms flailed above the surface for a moment before disappearing again. Mark and Kayla screamed from the bank, calling for help, but but there was no one nearby. The alligator maintained its hold and continued pulling Autumn into the darkest part of the pond. A third roll followed, and this time the animal did not surface. The water grew still except for faint ripples. Autumn remained submerged, held firmly in the alligator's jaws as it anchored near the bottom. The crushing pressure on her leg, combined with the inability to breathe, led to rapid incapacitation. She drowned within 2 to 3 minutes, her body going limp as the alligator continued to hold her underwater. Mark had already sprinted toward the nearest lit area to find help, while Kayla remained at the edge, shouting into the darkness. Emergency responders arrived within 15 minutes, but the pond was too dark and dangerous to enter immediately. A specialized wildlife team was called in, and recovery operations began at first light. Autumn's body was located several hours later in deeper water. An investigation by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission confirmed that the attack was consistent with typical alligator ambush behavior. The presence of the culvert, the time of night, and the nesting season all contributed to the heightened risk. The alligator responsible was later trapped and removed from the pond. The incident prompted the golf course management to install additional lighting and more prominent signage around all water features. While Autumn Reeves drowned in that Florida pond, far west in Colorado, Grant Ellison was lacing up for an evening trail run, eager to log miles before sunset, where fresh deer tracks marked the dust and shadows grew long. It was September 12, 2016, on a foothill trail near Golden, Colorado, where the Rocky Mountains rose sharply from the high plains, and the evening light cast long shadows across steep switchbacks. The trail wound through dense juniper and scrub oak along a narrow bench cut into the hillside. Grant Ellison, a 34-year-old software engineer from Denver, had driven out after work to log training miles before sunset. He was preparing for a fall marathon and had been running this route twice a week for the past month. The air was cool and dry, with a light breeze moving through the canyon. Grant had parked at the trailhead just after 6 in the evening, noting the recent lion sightings Keep Pets Leashed placard that Aaron Blake, a trail steward, had posted that morning. Luis Ortega, a wildlife photographer, had mentioned to other hikers that he had seen fresh mule deer tracks and scat near the upper switchbacks, a sign that predators might be nearby. He had advised keeping noise levels up and staying alert. Grant had brought his small terrier mix along for the run despite the leash requirements. The dog ranged ahead on the trail, darting into brush and sniffing at rocks. Grant wore earbuds, listening to music as he ran, which reduced his awareness of his surroundings. The trail climbed steadily through areas of dense cover. Mule deer tracks were visible in the dust, and a squirrel gave a sharp alarm call as Grant passed. The sun was low on the horizon, and visibility dropped significantly in the shaded sections where juniper grew thick against boulders. Mountain lions are solitary and highly efficient predators found throughout the western United States. Adult males can weigh between 120 and 220 pounds, while females are smaller but equally dangerous. They are ambush hunters, relying on stealth and explosive speed to close distance on prey. Cougars have powerful hind legs capable of launching them up to 40 feet in a single leap, and their strong jaws are designed to grip and suffocate prey. They typically target the neck and head, delivering a crushing bite to the base of the skull or throat that severs the spinal cord or cuts off airflow. Cougars are most active during dawn and dusk, periods when their prey is also moving, and light conditions favor their hunting style. They are naturally wary of humans, but certain behaviors can trigger a predatory response. Running, especially with a small animal like a dog, can mimic the flight behavior of prey. Crouching, turning away, or appearing vulnerable can also provoke an attack. Grant was approximately 2 miles into his run when his dog rounded a sharp bend and began barking aggressively. Brush rustled on the uphill side. Grant rounded the corner seconds later, pulling out one earbud. A large cougar was crouched low near the trail edge, less than 10 meters away, its body tense and its eyes fixed on the movement. The animal had likely been stalking the dog or waiting in ambush near a game trail. Grant froze for a brief moment, then turned and began running downhill. The sudden flight triggered an immediate chase response. The cougar sprang from its position and closed the distance in seconds. Grant had covered maybe 10 meters when the cougar struck him from behind. The impact knocked him off his feet and sent him sprawling onto the trail. The cougar landed on his back, its claws digging into his shoulders and upper back, its jaws clamped onto the base of his skull and neck, the canine teeth penetrating deep into the tissue. The bite was precise and devastating, designed to sever the spinal cord. Grant's body went rigid as the pressure on his neck increased. The cougar maintained the bite while its hind legs raked across his lower back and sides, the claws tearing through his shirt and into the skin. The force of the bite crushed vertebrae and severed major blood vessels in the neck. Blood began pooling beneath him on the dirt trail. Grant attempted to push himself up, but his movements were weak. The cougar adjusted its grip, biting down harder. The dog had fled down the trail and was barking from a distance. The attack lasted less than 30 seconds. The cougar released its grip and stepped back before slipping into the dense cover. Grant lay face down on the trail, blood spreading rapidly from the neck wounds. His breathing was shallow and irregular, and within a minute it stopped entirely. The combination of spinal trauma, massive blood loss, and airway compromise resulted in death within minutes. 2 other trail runners came upon the scene roughly 10 minutes later, finding Grant's body and the dog circling nearby. They immediately called emergency services and attempted CPR, but he had been dead for several minutes. Colorado Parks and wildlife officers arrived within the hour and confirmed the attack based on the injuries and tracks. The trail was closed indefinitely. Wildlife officers determined that the off-leash dog, the use of earbuds, and running at dusk in an area with recent sightings had all contributed to the fatal encounter. The cougar was tracked and euthanized the following day due to the severity of the attack and its proximity to populated areas. Grant's family released a statement describing him as passionate about the outdoors and dedicated to his fitness goals. They expressed hope that his death would serve as a reminder about the importance of following wildlife safety guidelines, particularly in areas with known predator activity. Thanks for watching. Want to watch more? Click on your screen now.